So she put about $750,000 her entire nest egg into Apple. Back here in like 13, I want to say it was like 15, yeah, $20 stock, let's say. And so she turned 750,000 into about 8 million, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Rose Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have the pleasure of being here with an awesome person, awesome trader, Marty Chargin.
Yeah, you got it right.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Awesome. You've been trading since the 70s, 1970s.
I've owned stock since the 70s through my dad, but I didn't start trading till early 90s, I would say. But still, yeah. Still, it's like 30 years now, right?
Yeah, well, your website says the 70s. Oh, I guess
I own stock for the 70s.
Yeah.
I embellish on my website, you know that.
Love that. Marty is awesome, so smart, and so much fun. So he makes trading even more fun. And there's a quote that I love that is on your website that says, "Stock market changed my life, and I'm here to help it change yours." And I think that's so kind and so sweet that you give back and you share so much stock knowledge with all of us. So we want to know your background to the market. Like, were you always a trader, or where'd you start? You were doing something. I think you were a principal, a teacher. Tell us about that.
I was a principal at a school for like 20 years. I was a teacher. First of all, the first stock that I owned was IBM. My dad bought for me. No, take that back. Chevron. It was Standard Oil of Cal in like the 60s or 70s. And then I said, this thing's doing nothing, because you'd look in the paper, right? And then he bought me IBM. I think he was a lawyer, and he would try cases and people would pay him in stock. And he always had IBM stock, and I said, these things are too slow. So then he bought me Control Data, and we'd watch it in the paper, and IBM eventually bought out Control Data. So that got me hooked on the stock market early on. I'd read the sports page in the comics first, but I'd go to the stocks and look at the tables and how it was trading on this was before the NASDAQ, actually. Yeah. And so I was always into stocks, but really didn't get serious into it until like the brokerage accounts, E-Trade and Ameritrade. Yeah. Once they came out, me and my friends got into it pretty heavily because we were teachers at the time, and we were looking to supplement our incomes. Teachers don't get paid that much. So we became day traders in the 90s. And
wow.
Yeah, I really screwed up because Qualcomm was a big lesson for me. Qualcomm was a stock that went up, 2,000%, like 1999 from like 10 to 200, right? And I was day trading it in and out, in and out, in and out every day, just making peanuts. And I just would have bought it and held on to it, I wouldn't have had to teach anymore.
Yeah, right. I know. Hindsight is always so sweet.
Yeah. I was saying, man, you're making peanuts, and the way to make money longer term is just kind of hold on to the winners, during an uptrend, like we're having now, right? So that was a lesson there. So I kind of stopped day trading. Plus, it's really stressful, very time consuming. You got to sit in front of your computer the whole day, and I don't like doing that. So
I know you have a lot of great hobbies like golfing, and I know you love baseball.
Yeah. I was drafted by the New York Mets in 1976.
What?
Back in another life. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. You had me believe in you for a minute there. I was like, what?
No, really, look it up. I was drafted by the New York Mets. Yeah, 1976. I shall not tell a lie.
Wow.
But yeah. So
amazing Marty. We're going to call it Master Marty is amazing.
No, baseball is fun, and the stock market should be fun too, right? I mean,
it is.
I know a lot of people talk about mental equity, or whatever. And I don't really have that with the stock market, because I figure I played baseball, right? And I know I'm going to strike out a lot. I'm going to pop up. And I also know that you're not going to hit any home runs unless you get your bat off the shoulder. So I'm always probing the market, trying to get a base hit here and there. Even last year during 2022, when the market was horrible, I was just always in the market. I talked, last summer, even when the market was pretty bad for growth stocks. You know, SMCI still was plugging along, you know, doing
Yes.
pretty well, you know, so that was kind of a precursor to this year when it, you know, just took off recently. I have my notes here.
You know, I
Yeah,
want to ask you before we get to the
yeah,
current times, how did
yeah.
you learn how to trade back in the 90s? You were
Um,
doing day trade. How'd you learn? Did you get books? Back then, they didn't have YouTube.
no, I'd
So
have to
what
go to
did you
Barnes
do?
and Noble and read Investors Business Daily, and I would,
Wow.
yeah, on Saturday, and I'm self-taught. There was no YouTube back then or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Oh,
So,
nice. Self-taught.
yeah, I would go to the bookstore and just read the books, and because I was too cheap to buy the books, I just go in
Mm.
there and read them.
Yeah, we would hang out at the bookstores too in the 90s. I remember
Yeah,
that.
dude. I don't even know there's any bookstores around anymore.
I know, right?
Things,
So, yeah, times have changed significantly. So
yeah,
you
they
actually
change.
have notes that you kept from last summer?
No, yeah, no, I just have notes of my entry points, you know, of
Oh, wow.
stocks. Yeah.
That's
Because
great.
I bought and sold, you know, and then eventually, you know, it was February 10th at $90.02. I'd entered into SMCI again because
Mm-hmm.
we had it in the 50s, right?
Yeah. I remember
And
when it hit 37, I think, in the 40s.
yeah, but you can see here that, you know, I don't know if you can see this screen here.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah,
Looks
you
great.
can see last summer it was just kind of building, you know, base and then another base and got up to 95 here and then formed this other base. And I think it it undercut the 50 here. And on February 10th, that
Mm-hmm.
right there above the 50 we bought there, and then it you know, it's done really
Yeah,
well.
I have to say, you have the most beautiful charts, and they're
uh
always so simple, and that's key, the simplicity.
I'm a
And
simple guy.
yeah, well, simplicity works, especially in the stock market, minimizing noise because we have
Yeah.
information overload. And I see right there, there's a gap. Do you believe that these gaps get filled or they don't always get filled?
Eventually they get filled. It filled one this week right here at 2:35, I want to say. Yeah, on
Mm.
I think that was Monday or Tuesday. It filled a gap there. This gap here is the one you're talking about. That's the
Yeah.
Nvidia earnings report, I believe, on May 25th. That's
Hmm.
quite a gap. Yeah. 213.41 right there. Oh boy. I want to say the high was what, 170 or something.
Hmm.
Get my cursor on it. 167, yeah. 167, and the low here is 192. So that's quite a gap.
It is a
Yeah,
significant one.
$25. Yeah. But this one here, it cleared just this week, 235.74. And you can see the low on this day was 232.11. So it did fill that gap. And you can see if, you know, I'm kind of like in the now, right? I'm not going to worry
Hmm.
about this gap here. It's
Hmm.
making higher lows here.
Yeah, it is. Nice
Uh,
trend up there.
yeah, and now it's kind of pinching in and it's just trading real tight. I kind of like this flag pattern
I
here.
do
So
like that. The
yeah, I know a
tighten
lot of people say,
consolidate.
oh, it's you know, it's topped, you know, climax, you know, type of move. But I think if you look at the weekly here, you know, it does have this trajectory here, and then all of a sudden it goes straight up. But a lot of money is going into AI, and to me, this week here that we've had, where it's, you know, it's digesting its gains, you know, it's just an inside week.
Hmm.
That to me is not capitulation. If you have a moment, you have a moment, you have a moment.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to
We
show you.
have a moment.
Okay,
Absolutely.
you have a
We have
moment.
a few moments.
Well, because I mentioned Qualcomm earlier, right?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, I want to show you Qualcomm in 99. So I'm just going to go to
This is
it
exciting.
topped it topped about 2 months before the Nasdaq topped in 2000. But you can see this
Mm.
move here. Like, that's a move right there, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a weekly chart. So I just want to show you that this stock, it was trading, you know, like if some people have rules like sell if it's 100% above its
Yes.
200 simple moving average. Well, this here was 150%. Let me get this here. 130, 100%. above its 200 simple moving average at $14. So if you sell by using those rules, you would have missed out on this big move from
Mm-hmm.
14 to 200, just because you have a rule that really doesn't make any sense to me. I know I hear people say that, but I don't think you should sell just because it's 100% above or even 200% above. Just let this thing run out, and that's what Qualcomm did the whole way. If you look at those numbers there,
Mm-hmm.
the number at the bottom, the 200 simple moving average, you can see it's 119, 150, 170,
Mm-hmm.
192 the whole way up, right? I mean, it got over 200% above its 200 simple moving average,
Yeah.
250% right there. So you can't sell just because it's above its moving average by that much. To
Yeah.
me, it's just showing you that it's a leader. It's showing strength. There's demand for the stock.
Excellent
Institutions,
thinking. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. And
yeah,
more expensive can get more expensive. Expensive
yeah,
in our eyes can always get more.
yeah.
You follow the trend, and if the buyers are there, it keeps going up. Now, what are your rules, if any, to cash out of a stock? Do you stay? Do you scale out in profits? Do you take out little bits? Do you minimize your position, or do you just remain until you see a change in that trend?
It depends on the the market trend. Like right now, we're in a real strong uptrend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the market is a tailwind, right?
Yeah.
Whereas so I'm going to hold on longer, right, and try to maximize my gains. Whereas in 2022, you had to take profits quickly, like
Yes.
I showed you. But if it sells off below the 50, I'm typically going to get out, and that rule has saved me from stocks like Roku at 400. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
ride it all the way down to $60. Cloudflare and CrowdStrike, all the software names, Shopify. I sold them at the 50 because I didn't, and that saved me
Yeah, I
that
remember
big
we were
sell.
both playing shop at the
Yeah,
same time, and we did
yeah,
biotechs last summer. And you know what? You can leave this chart up, and we could use SMCI as our example because I love this one. I think since last April, I think you and I were both all over it last summer, and then there was that short report, and we were like, "Nah, we
yeah.
don't." And it's great. It's nice. Why this is excellent stock. Great, beautiful trend. Now your strategy. How did you play SMCI since the first entry? Where did you sell, if you recall in your notes? And then where did you buy again? Just show us on the chart so we can understand your thinking.
Gosh, we had it back here last summer.
Yeah, number 37. There it is.
Yeah, yeah, and then
Uh-huh.
I wrote it up to 74, and then it formed this base here, and you see where it sliced to 50 here.
Yes.
Let
Did
me
you
zoom in
sell
a little bit.
then?
Yeah, I don't want to hold that. I don't want to sit because once it goes below the 50, I don't know how far it's going to go
You're
down.
right. So
It's in a
where'd you
downtrend.
sell? Right when it
Yeah.
breaks the
Right
50?
when it sliced to 50, I'm going to sell. Maybe not that day, but by the end of the week for sure.
Okay.
Because you always got to give it a chance to rally back through. But
Okay, so
this time it rallied back up. Yeah, like
slicing the
right.
50 is a no-go for Marty.
Yeah.
And is that EMA, SMA?
The simple moving average. Yeah, 50
Okay.
simple moving average. So now it forms this base, it rallies back through the 50, right? And forms this nice
Mm-hmm.
base. So now I'm back in it, got this powerful move and ride it up to 95, which is
What was
fine.
your single
And
for
you can,
buy? What was your signal for buying back in? Did it cross any certain line?
yeah, it went back through its 50, which put
Perfect.
it back on my radar. I didn't buy it then, but when it made
Yes.
this move right here
Ah,
on my
yes.
birthday, the best day of the year, November
Yeah, the
2nd.
best day of the year.
Yeah, this here, no, right there, November 2nd. Yeah, up 12%, right?
Wow. And then you hopped in on your birthday. Was a
Yeah, with
great birthday
massive
gift.
volume. Yes, a birthday gift to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's riding the 10, right? And then it makes a
Mm-hmm.
high of 95. And then it does this again, right? And it's
Yeah.
pretty consistent pattern, right? Slices its 50 again.
Did you
Uh,
sell?
this might be where the short report was here,
Yeah.
Rosanna. I'm not sure when the short report
I
was.
think it was earlier this year. I
Yeah, it was a
think
real bad reaction. Yeah, down 10% there.
must have been the short report.
It sliced to 50 and the management didn't say anything. So, when it
Yeah.
slices to
Well,
50,
they say with haters and all this
yeah,
negativity, the
what are
best
you
thing to
gonna
do
do?
is ignore, right?
Yeah, yeah. But that's a good point. So the market, voted on this, and the market was telling you with these big blue volume bars that they're getting back in. Yeah, the shorts had their day. I don't know what short it was, Hindenburg or Muddy Waters or one of
Something.
them, but it doesn't matter. But the market voted, with their pocketbook. So you see this money coming back
Mm-hmm.
in, and now once again it undercut its 50, and now it rallies back through, and
Yeah.
it forms a very similar base to what it did back here. You see the depth in the base there is 33. This depth is 28% in the base, which is fine. I know a lot of people are concerned about stage 4 base, right? Late stage base, but it had
Mm-hmm.
a trip down to the
Yes.
21, and I got back into it. I got it right here, February 10th at $90.02 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was my last buy. And when I buy, I like to buy a full position because I'm either
Mm.
in or I'm out, because I don't want to Mickey Mouse it unless the market's like really crappy like last year. And then I'm just probing, 2% moves, try to, put my toe in the water. But SMCI full position. And
Mm.
if it trades 5% lower, I'm going to get out. If I don't want to lose any money, but it didn't. And then it made this big jump here to 118.
Wow, yeah.
It kind of went sideways there. Once again, sliced to 50.
Oh, yeah.
Sliced to 50. I don't know. I didn't sell that time. It was I was up on the trade, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that was an end of the week. I'd have to go to the weekly.
Mm.
Because usually if it slices to 50, don't sell right away. I kind of wait till the end of the week.
And it recovered
Kind of,
pretty quickly there.
yeah, kind of give them a chance. And I can show you a bunch of charts recently.
Mm-hmm.
Do that right now because I can come back to super micro.
Yeah.
A lot of these home builders, no, they're sliced through 21. That's what they slice through moving out. Real strong stocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Slice through 21. You don't know how low they're going to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do? They just rally right back to new highs, and a lot of them did the
Ah.
same thing. Yeah.
Maybe it's all the negative sentiment. They said the real estate market was going to crash. So everyone maybe
Yeah.
shorted them. Do you think it could be a short covering? Or you think that looks
Meritage,
like
man.
fresh money coming in?
Here you go. Here's Meritage. This is what I'm thinking of. This is the one that built my
Mm-hmm.
house.
Ah,
Yeah, slices to 50. And so it's just in a base here, and it just kind of consolidated below the 50, then rallied back through it. So you got to give them a little bit of chance to wiggle around, especially in an
yeah.
uptrend market. So that's why it's not all science. There's a little bit of art to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
You got, yeah,
yeah, you got to have a gut feeling of yeah, it's
exactly.
below the 50, but I'm going to hang with it. And they pulled through. And there's been a lot of stocks that have been doing that recently, been trading below, then rallying, right back through their 50, and it's shaking people out big time. This is
Yeah.
networks. That's a big slice, stayed below, then rallied right back through. I mean, those are sharp
Yeah, those
moves.
are like little shakeouts they
Yeah,
do.
yeah. That's gonna
Last year it would have been lower, but now they're
yeah.
rallying back up. What a
Yeah.
difference.
Now you say the market's a little more forgiving, you can make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes and you can get away with it a little more. Last year you were punished for it.
Oh yeah, you were
So
punished, and you followed your rules, it seemed. It was a tough
yeah.
market last year, very tough.
Yeah, it was tough. So SMCI now, the problem was here is that if you bought here, or if you added, along the way, pull
Yeah.
back to the 10, like right here, I think this is an add-on buy point right here for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's became too big of, percentage of the portfolio, so you have to trim a little bit. And, I don't use stops, but I know people would like trim and just raise their stops to guarantee,
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So, but
Okay, so that's another thing. You don't
yeah.
use stops.
Nah, not based. Not if I'm going to be around the computer because a lot of times you get stopped out and then the thing rallies back.
Exactly. I know. And then I
Yeah,
like the idea that you went with your full position
yeah,
because you minimize the risk by being over that 50-day and you're more confident. You see it building a base. So you're confident to go full position rather than scale in slowly.
yeah. Well, because I'm going to go back to the Nasdaq because you have the tailwinds from the market. It had this
Yes.
on January 6th. It had this follow through days. That was a change of
Yeah, look
character
at that.
for the market. Yeah. So now not all follow through days work, but we've never had a bull market, rally without a follow through day. So this one worked, and then it pulled back. There it goes back to the 50, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then now it traded right back through the 50, and it's in this
So
nice
what are
power.
these lines that you have here, that big black line, is that the 200 day?
This is the 200 day, where it traded
Mhm.
below the 200 day for an entire year,
Wow,
which it
yeah.
hadn't done, I want to say, only a couple times since its existence. And I want to say 74 was one of them, and 82. So this is, historic, it's historic bear market. It was 37%, peak to trough here. If I go to a weekly chart, the 16,212 to the October 13th, 10,088. It's 37% peak to trough, just because of the higher interest rate. So that's 37% in index. That's quite a chunk. So now, like I talk about the reversion to the mean trade, I mean, it's just getting back what it had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just getting back
But
what
when
it
you
had.
look at this chart and you see this right-hand side all the way there, June, you see all blue, and you're
Yeah.
seeing it go straight up. In your mind, with
Just
your
to confirm.
experience, do you think of it as possibly being overextended?
And I'm waiting for a pullback here for a couple of weeks, and it just doesn't want to.
Yeah, maybe
I
it's
want to
a,
say,
yeah,
I think this is 8 weeks in a row, Rosanna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 8 weeks in a row. This is up, and it's, I hate saying this, but it's mostly because people were out of position, and just they were short the
yeah,
market. There's been a lot of talk about an impending recession. We might have one. I don't know. So I think a lot of people were just either on the sidelines, and now there's that FOMO trade,
that's what I was
or
gonna say, FOMO, it's
yeah,
a fear of missing out that's going
yeah, or
on.
institutions were just offsides, and now they're covering their short positions, because this is a pretty good size volume here. Especially when I go to the daily, you can see recently this has been strong volume here this week as it makes this move. And I talked earlier about moving averages. That's 3% above its 10
Wow,
EMA, and
yeah,
5.3% above the 21, which is, it's out of character for, it hasn't done this since 2020. This is a nice move, but I'm not going to fight it. The trend is your
Yeah.
friend, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Trend is your friend. And how about for initiating new positions? I guess it depends on the stock, but I think there's a lot of hesitation. It seems very extended, but
Um,
it can go higher, right?
Okay, I don't trade the index, but if you're let's just say AMD, like we had this thing
Yes.
about 88, and there was another buy point here at 102, and it pivoted higher on the Nvidia earnings report, right? So if you missed it on
Mm-hmm.
both those pivot points, that's too bad. But I think, just like SMCI is offering you an add-on buy point here, if you
Right
own,
there.
or
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, I think this pullback to the 10, I'm not sure if this is going to come back to the 21 or the 50. Good luck with that. But
Mm-hmm.
AMD is another strong stock. So actually, I should point out that Nvidia was on our ready list this week, because if you missed this, which a lot of people did, I know people were talking about shorting Nvidia up on this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't have a position in Nvidia, I know a lot of people at my service here got into it here on this pullback to the 10 EMA. It was our top pick for this week. I think I posted so many charts, people are getting sick of it.
I think you posted
Okay.
SMCI,
Yeah.
Nvidia,
Yeah,
AMD,
AMD and Tesla. Yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah. So
Wow,
so
it's
that
just running
pullback to
up
the
now.
10. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it worked here. It might not work for AMD. AMD might come back to its 21, and this thing could have come back to its 21. We didn't know it was going to work, but that was an add-on buy point there at 390, and now it's trading at what, 430 or something.
Yeah.
Just joking. It's got to close at 420 on Friday, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, this is some strong trend we see in the semis. And would you say, are there any semis that it's spreading out now, right? It's not just
Yeah.
a few, it's spreading out to more stocks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to buy the leading stocks like Nvidia, and not, a laggard in the group.
Yes, you go for the monster stocks, right?
Yeah, Yeah, I try to hit grand slams.
Hmm.
And if I strike out, I strike out. But if you hit a big one, and this one looks to be, so the whole premise and the thesis is artificial intelligence, right, Rosanna?
Hmm.
And the corporations are putting big money. There's an arms race for this, artificial intelligence. So I don't know if it's real or not. I don't know. I mean, I don't look at companies' line items and see what they're spending on
Right, I know.
artificial intelligence. So I just go by the charts, and this chart's telling me that Nvidia is a leader, and somebody's
Absolutely.
buying the stock. And I guess this is real because we've had fads and themes in the past, like the marijuana theme, like Tilray is going to going to the moon, and the 3D printer, theme that they fizzled, but artificial intelligence could fizzle, but this looks to be real. It looks to be the start of a bigger move for SMCI and for Nvidia and for AMD and Palantir, and there's a lot of these software stocks that are going to benefit as well, not just the hardware, not just the Nvidia and the AMDs and the semiconductor stocks.
Yeah, I think AI, in my opinion, is a real game changer. I think it's not like, they say the dot-com time, and I think it's a real deal. And I think it's like a new revolution. It's one of the three revolutions going on right now. And we have some challenges with lowered productivity, and AI is just helping with our current challenges, and it's much needed. So I think that, this has a strong argument. And I think that, as you said, simplify, look at the
Yeah.
charts, have the charts tell you, and look at that chart. I mean, to me, it
Yeah.
looks like, well, it wants to go higher, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm dumb enough to know what I don't know. So I just look at the chart, and right now it's working. I mean, I don't know. I mean, artificial intelligence, I guess, is going to be, if you listen to people, it's going to be big like the internet or the smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the next big revolution. So you mentioned three revolutions. Electric vehicles has got to be one of them.
Well, actually, blockchain and that whole Internet of Things is
Okay. Oh,
another big
Internet of
one.
Things. Yeah, yeah.
And decentralized is big, and they talk about fiat debasement. So I do think there's a place for maybe Bitcoin and some others. So there's just a lot going on in that whole space.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot, and it's moving so quickly, and they're all feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
So if you notice, things are they seem to be moving much faster. And Web3 is coming, and that's about it's not just read and write, but it's like shared ownership.
Yes.
So it's more security. And you know me. How much have I been talking about cybersecurity since like the beginning,
Yeah.
forever, right?
Yeah.
Fortinet. Remember we were talking about Fortinet
Yes.
last year,
Yes.
and then Palo Alto and
Yes.
Zscaler. I love CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
Even I'm not in it right now, but I played CrowdStrike in the past, and that's a leader. Like Palo Alto to me is a leader. And look at that, beautiful, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had this on our watch list recently, and once again, you can see it trade below the 50, and then it just ramped higher. This is a weekly chart, big consolidation here. Yeah, I really like Palo Alto Networks.
Yeah,
Good
you remember
management.
we were talking
Yeah.
about this last year, I think.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, there's the shakeout below the 50, then the rally, little sideways action, then it just took off. A lot of them, you talked about Fortinet. This has got another beautiful weekly chart. Yeah, it's up a couple percent today, but the weekly chart, I mean, if you look at this thing, this has been consolidating for a long time here, and it's just starting to poke above those old highs.
Yeah.
I like it, today. If you wanted to buy it today, we've had it on our watch list here, but it's starting to move out. Yeah, that's a really well-run company.
Remember we talked about that. The
Yeah.
executive team is amazing, very
Yeah.
disciplined, and
Yeah.
they're very focused, and I like their management. I like them as a company. They were one of my favorites because I thought they were not as known and not as much talked about as the rest. But to me, they're still a leader. So I like Fortinet.
My wife worked there, I would say back around 13, and the stock was, let's take a look. It was about, well, split adjusted, right? Because they had a big split. So yeah, $4 or $5. And it
Wow.
was in the teens, but I'm thinking, gosh, we should buy this because my wife worked there and she's going, oh, it's a really good company and they run a tight ship, and checked out their financials, and the management team is got a lot of skin in the game. So I didn't buy it back then, though. I really kicked myself for not doing that.
I know.
Well,
We
like I
all kick
say,
ourselves. I
yeah,
know.
well, these stocks, they're going to offer more opportunities. Don't give up on them. And I think this has had a nice consolidation. I think this thing is actionable today, just right above that old high there. I want to say it's about 72, the old high. They did a 5-for-1 split, I think, right?
Was it 5-for-1? I know they did a
Yep.
split, but I don't know if it was
Yeah,
5 or 4. Maybe it
yeah.
was 5. I don't know.
I think it was 5. So there was 74.35. So it's right there. And that's back from December of 21. So that's 18 months of consolidation. So
Wow. Yeah,
go
I was
bigger the
holding
base.
it. I was
Yeah,
holding it most of that time during that time. I
yeah.
just great company.
It's offering another opportunity, Roseanne. It's
Right.
calling your name.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been long for a while. I like cybersecurity. And then we have, let's see, we have the home builders were interesting. Semis I love. And then beauty. What about beauty? That elf
Uh,
beauty.
the retail has fallen on hard times. The retail has been really, really tough.
Mm.
Um, because there's all these,
The
financial people.
consumer isn't doing well overall.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the economists and
And
even
yeah.
I heard Brian Moynihan from Bank of America saying they expect the consumer to slow down because they can see it in their lending. People aren't willing to take that risk anymore. Elf is definitely one that's popular with the younger crowd, and Elf is just forming a shelf here. It pulled back to its 21, but this
Mm,
is one of your stronger retail names, and it's not doing anything wrong. It just pulled back to its 50. It went
mhm,
up on earnings, and yeah,
mhm.
that's one of your stronger retail names, but it's really hit and miss.
Oh,
Celsius is one,
Celsius.
yeah.
I remember this one. I think I traded this one a few times, and I remember you were trading it. Are you in this one?
Yes, I am.
Ooh,
And
nice.
it's richly valued, but it's showing strength. And
People love this drink.
yeah, I like it. I use the product, so it's kind of a Peter Lynch trade for
Ah,
me.
it's like a Crocs, right?
Yeah,
You're
Crocs.
a customer of Crocs as well.
Well, Crocs is a different story. Crocs is a retail, that's fallen on hard times. Had a big run from 48 to 150 in
Mhm.
a three bagger, right? Then on the earnings report, they raised guidance for the year and they lowered for the quarter. So,
Oh,
sold off. So,
thin
traded
slice,
down
it's
to
50,
200.
right? Is that the 50, the red line?
The black one is the 200. So it
Hmm.
rallied up to the 50, which is this red line, and then got rejected.
So
But
in this case, what would you do here? Would you sell when it goes to that red line, the 50-day?
yeah, yep, have to, because I don't know how low it's going to go. And it went to the 200, and it just looks like it's forming a bottoming pattern here. It's in timeout, Rosanna.
Timeout.
It's in
It's sitting
timeout.
out.
Yeah, until
Exactly.
next quarter, because if a company, lowers guidance for one quarter, what's to stop them from doing it again? And
You're
then
right.
it's
No, you're
yeah,
right.
then you're going to get something like that, and investors don't want that. That's a 15% haircut in a day, so they're going to have to prove themselves and have a better report and raise guidance. So let's wait and see.
So you
It's
have your rules are it slices the 50 and
yeah.
you maybe give it a day or so,
Well,
watch, and
well,
then
this is a different type of slice because this is an earnings gap lower, 15,
mhm.
16% on massive volume. So that's just people getting out, and you see what happens
Yeah, look
afterward.
at that big red
Yeah,
bar
yeah,
volume at the
yeah,
bottom.
because they're not just going to get all out in one day. Just like a gap higher, they're not going to buy all in one day. It takes time to,
Yeah, see.
form a position. Here, it takes time to unwind a position. So it's just in timeout. But if you look at their fundamentals, I know you like fundamentals.
Yes, I do.
It's a really cheap stock. Um, it's trading at about 2 times sales.
Ooh, what's
Big
the,
cash flow,
oh
big return
yeah.
on equity. It's
Forward
got
PE
debt.
10.
Yeah, I think the purchase of Hey Dude, they got in debt as rates were rising, so that's another red flag. You don't want to
Mm.
be in debt while the rates are getting higher. So I think they're trying to pay that off as fast as they can.
And I think that, there's a lot of talk about recession coming in 2024. And I actually just spoke with an economist recently, and Steve Hanke, he's a great economist. He's a professor at Johns Hopkins University, and he says that recession's baked in and for Q1 2024. So let's just say that happens. Okay. He knows much more than I do.
Of course.
And let's say it happens in this scenario. To me, in my opinion, retail would probably get hit. That would probably be a more challenging sector. So I would think that, and I think we're seeing signs of that. But the AI, the semis, those are much needed. Cybersecurity, it's almost like they're essential for now. For now, we'll see what happens, right?
Well, stocks top when the news is the best. They look the best.
Yeah.
And then they bottom when the news looks the worst. And here's Target, which has had terrible news recently, right?
Yeah.
And it's starting to carve out a little bottom here. I thought it might go lower, but it's saying no. And so I'm watching Target here.
So you're watching it. So this is something you would trade?
Not quite yet.
But you could, if you see it start bottoming out and coming back, reversing.
Yeah, this isn't the type of stock that I trade. I own it in a retirement fund for a long term, just for dividends. So I buy it like every month. So I watch it. This is why I know, I watch it. But it's not a big deal to me. I just keep buying it if it goes. That's a beautiful thing about if you have a drip account. For those of you who are, building a nest egg long term, you just keep putting money in month after month after month, and you don't need to. It doesn't matter if the stock goes up or down, because you're looking at 20, 25 years down the road, right? You actually want it lower so you can buy more shares. Your money's going further, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. Dividends are great. You keep accumulating dividends, and then you can reinvest them. You can take them as, whatever you prefer, and there's different ways.
They're taxed differently too. There's a 15% tax instead of your.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, you can kind of avoid the taxman there. But anyway, I wanted to get back to your point about the recession being baked in. I think the market knows that. I think if the recession gets, real tough, that's when the Fed's going to start lowering the rates.
Yeah, exactly.
So the market's looking ahead and saying, we might have, we're going to have a recession. It's going to get slow. And then the Fed's probably going to start lowering rates at the end of the year, maybe next year, whenever it gets bad, So they have the ability to do that. So I don't think too much. This is telling me the market's going higher, and the market's figured it out.
Exactly.
Down the road, so.
The market knows best, right? I mean.
I don't, don't fight the.
No, I know. I think the market knows, and I think that with the idea. Don't fight the tape. And if the recession is, it's been baked in, and that means the Fed will be cutting rates, will be, reducing their tightening, restrictive monetary policy. And so with that in mind, they'll reverse the tightening, and the market likes that. So the market definitely likes that. A little easier money. Absolutely.
So I think that's what this was all about. That's what this was all about from, November of 21 till October of 22. That is raising your interest rates and reducing liquidity and making it just tougher, tougher money, right? Tougher money environment than it,
So I have to ask you, I got to ask you the question that everyone talks. It's just fun. Not that we fall for this kind of discussion, but are we in a bull market?
Oh, I think we're in a sideways market.
Yes.
And that makes it a stock pick. Yeah, it makes it a stock pickers market. And I think you're going to have what we've been seeing, this rotation from sector to sector. You mentioned the home builders, the semis, the money rotates from sector to sector.
It's rotating. And the biotechs, are they starting to wake up a little bit, you think?
Yeah, I wanted to show you the biotechs. No, I don't. The biotechs are really frustrating for me because they peaked. They had this COVID, massive COVID, euphoria, right? And it peaked in February of 2021 which is more than 2 years ago. And then it had this capitulation selling here in May of 22. Okay, so that's like, I don't know, 15, 16 months of just a sell-off, right? This is
I
the
remember that.
XPI
Yeah.
here. Okay, so then it started ramping higher. I'm going, okay, the biotechs are going to, do well, right? And then it just got into the sideways action, and it just can't get out of its own way. This is a lot of consolidation. I mean, I'm sorry, from February of 21, this is, going on 2.5 years now. This thing can't do anything.
I
I
know.
mentioned that the FTC got involved with the Amgen Horizon, and I think that, makes investors pause, and even biotech companies, these big companies like Pfizer and Merck and Bristol Myers, they have a ton of money to buy these companies, but if they're going to be scrutinized by the FTC, it's because Horizon's a 28 billion market cap. That's not a real big deal. And so, I think that's really stalled the deal making in the biotech sector. It's stalled the investment. And I don't, it's just been stalled. There's still some good stocks in here. There's one stock that I really like. The chart is, and this is a cancer company.
Oh yeah, Immunogen.
Yeah, and if you look at the weekly chart, if I zoom in here,
Wow. Well, Marty, I mean, you picked the ones that have that big, look at that rise.
yeah, it
Can't
had
argue
a
with you.
144% gain. The next week it had this short stroke pattern, and then it just kind of formed this shelf and then ripped higher on I think a phase 2 trial data, and it went from 14 up to 1870.
How do
there.
you find these? Like, do you have a screener where you or alerts or something that
Yeah.
alerts you or?
Yeah, anything that goes up more than 10% with 100% above average daily volume, it's on my radar. Yeah. And
Nice.
yeah, you can see this one just pull back to the 10. Like we talked about AMD and Nvidia, these strong stocks that are in demand. SMCI, they pull back to their 10, they hang around here for a while, and then it took off. And so we talked about SMCI earlier. It's done the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Big
you're
move,
noticing the
pull back to
patterns.
10. Yeah, and it's got this little pinching pattern. So
Could be
it
a
was,
decent time to add right here, like you said, in this
I think it
area.
is, but that's just me. It's down $3 today, so we got to sell it. It's a dog, right? It's not going up this week. What the heck's the matter
I
with it?
know what's wrong. I know.
Yeah, a lot of people, have very impatient. I notice like they want their stocks to go up, and I get it. If you buy a stock, you want it to go up, but once it's gone up this much, you can't expect it to keep going up. And when it pulls back, that's
So your add-in points are when it pulls back to which moving averages?
well, if I didn't catch the move, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't catch the move, I'm looking for a stock with a prior uptrend pulling back to a moving average. I prefer it to be a little lighter volume and maybe back to the 21, but I don't know if you're going to get that with a stock this strong. This is a super strong stock. We're talking about that 145% above the 200. This is a super strong stock. So I don't think you're going to get that with something like this, but you might, you might. But a lot of them have been pulling back to their 10 and then trading higher. I'm going to take a look at just some software names that
Yeah, so let's
we've
look at
had.
them.
Yeah, see, this
We
is
have,
stuff. See,
let's
this is
just go over the moving average lines that you have there. The black is the 200. You have the
this is the
red.
200, this is the 50, and this is the 21, and I use the 21 and the
Yes,
10
and the
EMA.
10. Got
Yeah, a
it.
lot of people like to use 8 or the 5, the 8 and the 20, whatever. This
You
is just
use
what
the
I use.
10.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with this. This is I use the exponential because it's a little bit more of a momentum. These are momentum stocks, growth stocks that have momentum. You can see the breakout from earnings, and then
Yeah, look at
it's down
that.
to the 10. Yeah, but now it's down to the 21. So it's pulled back to the 21, and it's up 3-something% today, $16. So that might be your opportunity there. I don't own it. I don't trade HubSpot because I have other software names. I don't want to be too heavy in software, but I do monitor it. It's on our I think it's a leader, so I do monitor it. So
Wow.
stocks that pull back to the 21 and trade higher. You got to watch out for those.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your emotions in trading, and I know you keep them out and you're a seasoned trader. However, I love your process and I love your attitude.
Well,
And for example, that's SMCI that we went through. Um, how do you cope with, you sell with your rule when it slices that 50 and then you see it recovers at some point and then it goes and then you buy higher than where you sold it. Does that bother you?
no,
That's
because
awesome.
the stock doesn't know I own it. See, because here's a Duolingo, it sliced its 50, right? I didn't own it, but if I did, and I probably would have sold that. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
It depends if it was the end of the week. I evaluate my stocks mostly on the weekends, but it traded right back through. So, if you sold it here, you can always buy it back. Yeah, you're buying it at higher prices, but it's an insurance policy, right? Because it could have
Exactly.
gone all the way down to the 200, and you're selling it, 130 and you're not holding it down to 100. I sell at a 5% loss. No questions asked. When you buy a stock, you kind of want it to go up fairly quickly. So if it doesn't do that, then I'm not that
Yeah.
patient.
I love that. See,
But you
that's so
say,
important that you
yeah, I know you
mentioned
say,
that. Hmm.
yeah, I trade by rules, but I'm human. I'm still emotional, and I get, I don't get upset, but I get disappointed,
Hmm.
a stock like, one stock that I own right now is a biotech stock, and it's up, I don't know,
Right,
120%
at
this
TG.
year.
Hmm.
And so it made this big move, then it pulled back, and it's just, I'm expecting this because this is a base here, and it broke out of a base, had this big move, short covering move, right? Then it pulled back to its 50. And I believe that most stocks that pull back to their 50 after breaking out of a base usually get a bounce, and this thing's not bouncing. So it's frustrating me. I'm disappointed in it. I'm not, I don't get mad as I throw things against the wall. It's
No
just like,
computer throwing, right?
yeah, it's like, oh God, I'd expect this thing to bounce, but it's not. So, oh well, I'd just rather buy something else, but I
Yeah,
do expect it to bounce at some point.
totally. And I think it's just great to just share our feelings and thoughts with others because many people are just like, it only happens to me that I do this, but it happens to all of us. And,
Oh, yeah,
right? And it gets
yeah,
frustrating. It's unfortunate, but,
yeah,
I've purchased stocks higher than where I sold it as an insurance policy, like you
right,
say, and you
right,
protected yourself. But,
right.
at some point you're like, oh, if I just held it, I
Yeah,
would own it much lower.
well, I did. I entered this in Cubby Bear's contest. I was planning on holding 2,000 shares. I bought it here on December 30th, like $11. So I said,
Ah,
okay, I'm just going to put a little money in here and hold it all year, right? And then it made
mm-hmm.
this big move, kind of surprised me, right, to 35. And I talked with a few trader friends of mine, and they're going, Marty, it's a biotech stock, it's a drug, somebody could die
Yeah.
from the drug and it'll go to zero, tomorrow, right? So I took half off, up here at like 35.
Yeah.
And so I held a
Hi,
thousand,
that's
and
a
it's
nice
just,
profit. Great.
yeah, it
Congrats.
is, but it's just, it's not doing anything. But I could take that capital and buy something else with it. But I do expect it to go higher at some point, but not today. They move when they want to move, not when we want them to move, darn it.
Exactly. It's about controlling our reaction. We can't
Yeah,
control the market or the stocks, but we can
no,
only control how we react.
right,
So,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
There's a popular question I'm going to ask you. How
sure.
do you, I know you simplify your process. You really make it look so simple. And, trading is simple, but not easy. And I think that's important to note. How do you distinguish the signal from the noise?
I would say trading's kind of messy sometimes.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, yeah. The noise, I don't really filter out the noise. I like to goof around on Twitter and BS with people, that's really amusing for me. So,
Hmm.
but I don't take anybody, it's all with a grain of salt.
Hmm.
I look at a lot of companies quarterly reports and their earnings reports, it's because when you're dealing with stocks like this, or like AMD or Nvidia, or all the ones that we've mentioned, SMCI.
Hmm.
I mean, how many times has SMCI raised guidance since we've
Uh,
been trading? A lot of times,
a
right?
lot. I love when they raise their earnings expectations
Right,
before the earnings. They come, they
right,
beat, and they raise again. Yeah.
right. So it's all about forward guidance, right? And
It's always
forward
about the future.
sales, forward earnings, and that's why I mentioned Crocs, right? Crocs, I think the market's saying, hey, this growth is going to be slowing. It's had these, all these quarters of 60, 50% growth, and last quarter was 34, and maybe the growth is going to slow to 10 or 15, and they're saying, well, we're not going to give it the multiple because future growth, maybe it's saturated in the United States, and future growth is going to be single digits, and single digit growth stocks aren't too exciting, right?
Mhm.
You could buy General Mills or a Procter and Gamble if you want
Oh,
single
yeah.
digit growth, right? So it's all about future growth. So you have to kind of know about it. When I mentioned Elf earlier, Elf is a pretty expensive stock, but they have a lot of future growth, and it's rated very popular with the younger crowd, and younger crowd, if you get the younger crowd, the loyal consumer, they stick with you for a longer period of time. And you got to look for new products coming out that are hot, which reminds me, I watched Air. Have you seen the movie Air?
Oh my God, the Air Jordan, that was awesome,
Yeah,
right?
the Nike signing of
I
Michael
love
Jordan.
that. They
Yeah,
had great
yeah,
actors. Matt
yeah,
Damon
yeah,
was great. Ben
yeah.
Affleck.
Yeah, a fledgling company. Well, it wasn't fledgling. It was doing okay. I mean, it was worth like $1 billion or whatever. But
Hmm.
they sold out everything to sign Michael Jordan. Now, and then his shoe is selling like 4 billion, in revenue a year, right? This is after he's been retired for 25 years, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah, so they had future growth, for a long time. So if you can, you know, hook into something like that, then you have a monster stock, or something like Starbucks, that you know
Yeah, that really
has growth,
revolutionized.
but
It
yeah,
revolutionized the whole
loyal
coffee.
yeah,
Yeah, and then the whole coffee drinking. I mean, the $5 a cup coffee. Whoever would have thought that in the back in the
right.
80s, right? In the
Uh,
90s even. And I think SMCI to me is a great example of a stock that's really shown a lot of strength, and we'll have to see if it continues.
we're just going to
But
come back to SMCI, huh, Rosanna?
yeah, we're just going to keep coming. It's a great example of a stock from last year that we were talking about with 37 over there, and
Yeah,
now 245, and who's going to make it to 300?
yeah,
Tesla or SMCI
yeah, yeah. Well,
first?
I shared with my community the Qualcomm chart, right? And I don't know
Mhm.
if SMCI is Qualcomm or not. But if it is, I don't want to miss out on it, right? And my
Exactly.
point was, I don't want to sell just because it's, 145% above its 200. That to me is not a reason to sell.
I like
Don't,
that. That's important to note.
yeah, don't, to me, there's no sell signs here. Um, and it's just showing strength. And if this is Qualcomm, and if this is going to be, because Qualcomm went big because it was the guts of the smartphone, right? It was a big integral
Hmm.
component of the smartphone. Well, if this is an integral component of artificial intelligence, I want to be a part of that, right? And if it's not, and if it crashes and burns, we just sell it, right? But if it is, you might have a grand slam here. And stocks that move like this are pretty rare. So I
Very
want to,
rare.
yeah, so I want to be part of it. I don't know. I don't know the future. But if it is, I want to be a part of it. If it's not, I'll just sell it. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You keep it simple, and I love how you trade. You keep it simple as well. You don't do 100 stocks, right? You don't do 20
No.
stocks. You keep it simple, right? Do you have a rule of how many you trade at one time?
I try to keep it, on my weekly watch list at 20, but right now I'm getting excited. There's a lot of stocks that I like, so it's about 25, sometimes even 30 by the end of the week. So
What are some
yeah.
exciting ones that you're watching?
Well, I showed you Hubs. I like Hubs. I like Duolingo. I like Spotify, Palo Alto Networks.
Mm,
I showed you those ones in the biotech space. I'm kind of a nut for biotech because they move so much.
yeah.
Exact Sciences is one.
Oh, yeah. Look at that move.
IMGN, yeah, IMGN is another one that I like. Viking, they have a compound that's going to be, well, they're going to apply for FDA approval next year for an oral weight loss drug, like the
Oh, everyone
Lilly.
loves those.
So this will
That's
probably
one to
be,
watch for sure. We're going to
yeah,
make note of that.
yeah,
Viking
yeah.
VKTX.
Yeah, see when they
Weight
make
loss
moves
is
like
hot.
yeah, when they make moves like this, I get interested, right?
Absolutely. So this
Yeah,
will be on
yeah,
your watch list.
yeah.
Very smart.
69% move with just, buku volume. Yeah, like, okay. So if you would
Totally.
have bought that gap, right, that day, like people are scared of gaps. Well, I mean, that was like at $12 that day, and now it's 22. I mean, so you can't be afraid of gaps higher.
So what is the sign for you? It says, I'm looking at your trading rules. I love your stock rules. You have sell at 5% loss, which we already discussed,
Yeah.
buy at a proper buy point. So that's my question now. Like you look at this, what are some signs? High volume. I know we discussed this in the past, high volume. And then what are some other clear signs of a good buy-in for you?
Buy entry, yeah, because your entry is going to take care of most of your problems, right, Rosanna?
Yes,
If you buy right, right?
exactly. They always say
Yeah.
you buy, you make your money when you buy on the buy side.
Yeah, buy right, sit tight, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I like, like I said, buying out of bases, like I showed you Fortinet earlier. I think
Mm-hmm.
Fortinet right now. I mean, if you're looking at stocks that to buy, right now, that's a nice base that I like right there. And another stock, which I know people don't like, but AI. I had this one because
Yeah.
it has a lot of overhead supply, but I don't care about that. I mean, AI is the whole revolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this thing is, on the daily, it might be extended, but on the weekly, this thing is just kind of getting going, right?
Yeah.
25% this week, not too bad. There's just a lot of different types of stocks.
It is exciting. Oh my God. I'm
Yeah,
getting
this
very
is a
excited.
HVAC stock. You can see this on the weekly, call those like stair steppers, right? Like it goes sideways and
Mm-hmm.
it goes up, then it goes sideways and it goes up, and it goes sideways. That drives some people crazy. But this is another strong stock that just came out of a base. If it depends if how you want to build your portfolio. If you want to be concentrated in just semiconductor stocks, well, on a day like today when the semiconductors pause, you're going to go, nah, today stinks, right? But if you want to have a leading semiconductor, or a leading cybersecurity, or a leading biotech, you can pick leaders of a couple different strong groups, like a leader of a home builder, like DR Horton is one that I
Mm-hmm.
like. I mean, it's a slower mover, but that's okay. This is not going to hurt you. Once again, this one, we had this at gosh, you got to look at the weekly. That's one thing I stress. You always got to look at the weekly charter, and this is a big base, right? And then it formed this 3 weeks tight pattern. We had this about, I want to say, in the 90s here as a buy point. I don't know, 91 or something, 94. And then
Mm-hmm.
it ran higher, and it's just doing nothing wrong. It pulled back to the 21, shook some people out, and it's just trading higher. The home builders look great to me. I think just pick one.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I know.
builders, a supplier
What
is
about that
another one.
Taylor Morrison? Have you looked at that
Yeah,
one?
Dr. Taylor Morrison, absolutely. I'm going to show that one today because it got some pin action from
Yeah,
Lamar.
I used to
Yeah,
play that one.
builder. We had this one is I got it here, March 4th at 89.90. So
Ooh,
yeah, way
nice.
back here, yeah. And this is a supplier to the homes. You mentioned Taylor Morrison,
Mm-hmm.
another one, strong. Yeah, I
Ooh,
mean,
look at that beautiful
yeah, I
trend.
mean, yeah. Well, if you got to look at the weeklies, right?
Oh yeah,
Gotta look at
absolutely.
the weekly. Look at this big base. I mean,
Mm-hmm. And it's
then
running up now.
base and a base on base and a flat base, and it decides to run higher. To me, I think that has room to run. And these aren't the fast movers. It's not an Nvidia or an
Mm-hmm.
SMCI. They're not going to move 10% a day, but they're going to grind higher, I think. And they've Lennar, I mentioned Lennar, so I got to show Lennar. Another
Mm-hmm.
one made a new high today after a strong earnings report.
Look at that.
It's
Nice.
a big base. It was 117 in December of 21. So you're looking at, 18 months, right, of just consolidation. And finally, this thing's starting to break out. I mentioned today it was just breaking out to a new high. So,
Wow, that's nice right there. I see that.
yeah, but some people don't want to have, a slower moving stock, or they don't want to have a lot of different types of stocks, they call it like a mutual fund, and other
Yeah,
people just want to be concentrated in just a few leaders, and that's fine. So you got
mhm.
to find your own style, what works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Now,
think
do
that's
you
really important to know
absolutely?
your own personality. I think that's the most important, one of the most important things about you got to know yourself, and your personality. What can you tolerate, in the market? Can you tolerate big losses? Some people can. I got to tell you a story about my sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I shouldn't say my sister. A good friend of mine,
Someone you know.
someone I know, an acquaintance.
Uh-huh.
She worked at AT&T, back
Mm-hmm.
in the forever. She worked there 40 years. Single mom with 2 kids, and she raised her kids, and she didn't have any formal education, but she worked her butt off, right? And they did the matching. At AT&T, they do the matching, so every quarter she would
Oh
match
yeah.
and get shares at 3%, whatever it is. It's free money, right? The company's
Mm-hmm.
paying you to buy their stock. So she did that for 40 years, whatever. And she was one of those operators that plugged in the calls back in the day, right?
Oh
Remember the
yeah.
rotary phone? They call and they plug it in, like, oh, I unplugged you. I'm sorry. But she did that. Then she worked her way up. She went to night school and worked her way up. But anyway, the story is that she in 2012, I think, retired, or maybe 2013. And she's an Apple geek. She's in the Apple ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
the watch, the laptop, whatever, the iPad, the watch, and the ears and everything. So she's an Apple geek. She sold all of her AT&T stock and put it here in Apple in like 2013. I told her not to. I told her to diversify, buy some Google or Microsoft or whatever, buy something else, right? Procter and Gamble, get some dividends in Apple.
Mm.
Back here in like 13, I want to say it was like 15, yeah, $20 stock, let's say. And so
Mm-hmm.
she turned 750,000 into about 8 million, right? And
Wow.
yeah, and she's tight. I shouldn't have mentioned my sister because she's tight and she doesn't spend, and she's
Mm.
still holding it. She won't sell it. I said, sell some, but she doesn't want to pay taxes. And I said, just sell it and travel around the world. And she does.
Yeah.
She travels and she enjoys her retirement, but she's sitting on a nest egg, and I'm going like, geez, you're 70 something years old. Spend some of it, please, would you? But that's how the market can change your life. I
That's
mean,
exactly it. I was just gonna say that's like
yeah,
your quote. That's how the
yeah,
market can change your life.
yeah. I mean, it's also concentrating, right? It's putting everything in one stock. So that's a lot of faith in, Steve Jobs at the time, I guess, or I don't know
Mm-hmm.
when Cook took over. I think it was around when Cook took over.
Wow. Well,
That's another
she's
reason why I was saying, oh, I don't know about Apple. I don't know about this
I
too.
know. Well, she called it and she
Yeah,
did a
yeah,
great job. And the stock
yeah,
market definitely changed her bank account. And
yeah,
it seems like it didn't really change her life much because she's very disciplined and
yeah,
and she's one of those stories you hear about people where they say, like Warren Buffett, for example, he lives in the same house that he
yeah.
lived since like the 50s or something, right? And it's doesn't their money doesn't change them.
The
And
thing about Buffett, Rosanna, is that, he's a big compounder guy, and he made most of his money after like 75 years of age
yes, I heard
because
there's
it
hope. See,
builds,
there's
it's
hope for
like a
all of us.
snowball rolling downhill, right? It gets bigger
Yeah.
and bigger. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome. There's hope for us, right?
I'm just a baby. Yeah, I'm just
Right. We're
I'm just
young,
starting.
right? Right. There are a few more rules that I love of yours. Do not chase stocks and never average down.
Yeah, I never dollars cross. So now I do, and then I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because in those dividend paying stocks, I just buy them monthly and I don't really care where they're at. It's an automated program, right? And it buys Bristol Myers and
Mhm.
some utility stocks and Target and General Mills, and so it does it, every month. So I don't really care about those, but I'm talking about those growth stocks. You're not going to average down because they can
No.
really, really hurt you. We talked about Roku earlier, right?
Oh gosh.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to own it when it does this, but if you don't sell,
If
I
you
should
keep
say,
averaging down over
yeah,
there,
yeah. If you keep averaging down, this big ski slope right here, it's like the water slide at the water park, right? Like
I
we,
know it'll be a fun water slide, but yeah, do you
unless,
think it's building a base now?
yeah, that's just definitely a stage one base for sure. And I don't
Wow.
really know much about Roku these days or the streaming. It seems like a super competitive business. And that's one thing about software, Rosanna. I don't know anything about software, so I just go by the charts. But yeah,
Hmm.
Roku seems to be making a stage one base, and you can find a lot of these software names that look a lot like this. One that I really like because it has earnings and It's got the, we like the balance sheet, right? This,
Are they DigitalOcean?
yeah, DigitalOcean. It's got return on equity, cash flow. It's a, couple bucks in EPS, but you can see that had the, all the software stocks look like that. And then they bottomed and now it consolidated in a stage one base. And you can see the last 4 or 5 weeks with volume, it's broken out. So, yeah, there's nothing to do,
Look
but
at
like I said,
that.
buy right. So I had a little early entry above the 50 here, but if you wanted to buy it there at the standard buy point at 39, that's fine. It's $6 above that right now and just trending higher.
Very
I see those
nice.
sell signs, yeah. And if you wanted to, if you missed it, you want to buy it, just wait till it pulls back. Don't chase it up here. You don't have to chase
Yeah,
it.
don't chase it. Wait till it pulls back to at least the
Yeah.
10 or the
Yeah,
21.
yeah. Let these moving averages catch up, and they all provide an opportunity at some point. Even those strong stocks like Nvidia, which we showed you earlier, it just pulled back this week and went up about $40, right? I mean, what's not to like? So
Yeah, I love this. Love that. I love your process. You make it fun. You make it so simple, and it's awesome. You make me want to go buy all these stocks tomorrow. They're all exciting. This is great. Now, let's talk about risk management. I know we have your sell at 5% loss, but
yeah,
overall, it seems you maintain a risk management mindset. And
because I'm tired, I don't want to lose money.
I know.
What's Buffett's rule? Don't lose money. And the second rule is, pay attention to the first rule or whatever.
Exactly. That's
Money.
it.
Yeah,
Don't lose money. Keep it
I
at
think
5%.
Yeah, Roseanne, I think that's where the what a mental equity that people talk about is like losing, like you have a bunch of losing trades. Like I have clients that say, gosh, I had 3 or 4 losing trades in a row and I really suck and I can't do this and this isn't for me. I'm saying, no, never give up. If you have 3 losing trades, take a time out, reassess, always, do post analysis on your trades. What went wrong? And usually you're buying the stock extended, you're chasing it and, you see a stock going up and you want to buy it. Then it has a garden variety pullback and you get shaken out, right? So your entry point is what's critical. But I think that having losing stocks over losing stock trades really affects people. So
Absolutely. So
to me, it doesn't bother me.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a lot of good training growing up because I struck out a lot playing baseball. So
that's it.
failure,
See, and you
yeah.
know who else told me that?
Yeah.
Christian Fromhertz.
Oh, Christian, yeah.
Yeah, he's an
Yeah.
awesome guy too. And I always say he's such a nice guy. You and him are like the nicest people on Twitter,
Yeah,
I have to
Christian's a good
say.
guy. He's a
Great
lot better
guy.
looking though.
Oh, stop. You guys are
He's
both great.
younger. He's younger and
I
smarter.
met him in person. We met
Oh,
at Brian Shannon's book party.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. He's
yeah, I
in
met all
New
of
York.
them.
Yeah, he's in
Great,
New
great.
York.
Yeah, he's right
Is
near
he
me over here.
is he in Long Island too?
No, he's in I think he lives in New Jersey, but he's in Tribeca. He's in the Wall Street area. That's where he
Okay.
works. And
Yeah.
yeah, so he's in New York. I think he rides his bike a lot. He's a great guy. But he says the same thing. He says that he played sports when he was young and when he was a kid, and it just taught him all about exactly the mindset that you mentioned.
Yeah,
And
failure.
yeah, and you embrace it and you just pick it up and you move forward and you learn from that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about mindset and trading
Okay. Well, there you
psychology.
go. That is mindset, right? Because you got to fail, right? You got to learn to fail. What is it? Einstein failed 1,000 times before he invented, or was it? No, not is it Edison, Thomas Edison. I'm getting my geniuses
Yes.
mixed up.
Yeah,
Edison
that they all
failed
failed. They all made
1,000.
mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't want to get into philosophical, but parenting these days, parents are afraid to have their kids fail. I was a teacher and I saw this, you can't give my kid a C or a D that's going to crush their self-esteem. I'm going, well, that's what they earned, and failure is a character builder, right? It builds character in you. And I had a lot of
Absolutely.
failure and a lot of adversity as a kid, and I hated it when I was a kid. And I had bigger brothers that picked on me, and I had their friends picked on me, and I was, the little guy. But it built character in me and made me a lot stronger. And I can deal with adversity now. I've had a lot of adversity, and you just learn to deal with it, And I think that those coping skills are missing in kids these days because they don't want to let their kids fail. Everybody can't be valedictorian, you know,
I love
You gotta
that.
allow them to fail. You know, I know it hurts as a parent. You don't want to see your child, you know, it hurts to see your kid,
I
you know,
know, but that's
suffering.
the best thing for them. And I always
Yeah,
talk about life lessons, and learning
yeah,
them younger
yeah,
is better for them and makes them
yeah,
more resilient and anti-fragile. So you
yeah,
turn that, that adversity into strength, and it
yeah,
makes you stronger. And
yeah,
I know you and I have talked about, I think I've told you about our kids playing chess at a very young age.
yeah,
And it taught them a lot. And our youngest, he's 13, and he was playing chess at 4 and 5, playing, gentlemen. He was playing
right, right.
men that were retired,
That's
and,
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he would lose to them, but then
yeah,
it made him stronger. So
right,
now he's so much more resilient, and he can handle things much
yes,
more than his peers. I've noticed
yeah.
that. So
That's a great
absolutely.
lesson, Rosanna. I coached softball for a long time, like 20, 25 years. I coached girls softball. I tried
Oh,
coaching guys baseball, but they don't listen.
okay.
The girls would listen to me and said, "Hey, these girls listen. I'm going to coach them." But you know, they worked really hard. They would listen, you know, and they learned acquired skills. But the thing I noticed that like we had really good teams, like we won a lot of championships, but when they got cocky, when they won a lot of games, they get cocky and they'd slip up and they'd lose. Like if they went undefeated all season, they get to the championship game, they thought they were hot stuff. We lost a lot of times, you know, because it was hard to instill humility in them because they were so good
Hmm.
they beat everybody. So early in the season, I would like to lose a couple games.
Yes. Oh my
Or
God. That's
even in the
so,
middle of the season,
yes.
and they're going, man, it stinks. I don't want to do that again, right?
Exactly. What you
Yeah.
just said is so brilliant, because
Yeah.
I actually had the same exact discussion with Helene Meisler. Do you know her?
Oh yeah, she's
She's
yeah,
awesome. And her and I were saying it's better to fail first. And if you start out your trading career with, hard times and losing a lot, it makes you better off than having early wins, easy wins, because those easy wins, then it just changes your mindset. So it's
yeah,
better to lose, like you said, and you want to stay hungry, and you got to keep working at it. And
yeah,
it's keeping keeping that level head, never getting too high or too low, and just staying right neutral.
yeah. Well, that brings us back to those people who entered the market after the COVID crash, right?
Yes.
Because everything was easy, everything was going up. I'm just going to buy CrowdStrike or Livongo or you know Cloud, what is it, Net and Fastly. They're all going up. You know, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You know, everything was going up.
Yeah.
And then then they got the hard lessons, right? It's like, wow, this really stinks. I'm losing a lot of money, you know. And they didn't have that risk management like we talked about earlier, you know. So, and I did that, you know, early in my career, you know, like, oh, it's going to go up all the time. And then you see, well, no, it doesn't. And then you lose all of your profits and then some. And that's what really stings. And those are good lessons to learn. So now they're better for it. I would say between 2020 and right now, I mean, you've learned a lot of different lessons. You've seen the uptrending market, the sideways market, the downtrending market, and you know, now we're uptrending again. But those are good lessons to learn. And so now I think a lot of them, because I have a lot of them as clients of mine, and they've learned the lessons and they practice, you know, that you know, risk management, you know, and they analyze their trades. You know, I give them a little worksheet to analyze their trades, you know, post analysis of where you went wrong. And I always say, if you have 3 bad trades in a row, you know, take a timeout. You sit on the bench, right? Like,
Exactly. See, yeah, just like baseball, you take a, yeah,
yeah,
you sit on the bench, you take a
yeah,
little
sit on the
time
bench.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you do that with yourself still?
I do. Yeah, if I have 3 bad trades like I did last year, I haven't had 3 bad trades this year, but last year I had 3 in a row, and I was going like, what the heck am I doing wrong? And usually it was entry, or you know, not taking profits early enough. Like I buy a stock and it go up 5%. I'm going, yes, I'm going to kill it. And then in 2 days it was down 10%. I'm at a loss. You know, I'm going like, because they were selling any profit last year. You know, any stock
I
that went up
know.
went down immediately. I mean, it was a really tough market last year.
Very
And
tough.
so, yeah, no, I definitely did post analysis last year and definitely did some soul searching for sure. Because when, you know, psychologically, you're going like, wow, I'm on a losing streak, right? But, you know, even Steph Curry, you know, he's only going to make, you know, 50% of his shots, you know, or Barry Bonds only going to hit, 300 out of 3 out of 10, in the Hall of Fame. Well, he's not in the Hall of Fame because he cheated.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
a baseball hitter who hits 300 is going to be in the Hall of Fame. So 3 out of 10 is good. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So what is your screener for these stocks? Like what do you put on your radar, like for you,
Um,
for Marty? Like what?
it really depends on the market. Like right now, I do a lot of momentum screens because the stocks, the markets has momentum, right? So I
Mhm.
want stocks with momentum I just go to MarketSmith and screen for momentum and get it down to like 40 or 50 stocks.
Nice.
But in a sideways market, normally, I don't know, my mentor broke down the stock market in general into 1 year. And in 1 year, you're going to have 6 months of uptrend, 2 months of downtrend, and 4 months of sideways. So you
Mhm.
have to learn to trade in each of those markets. Like right now, it's 100%, pedal to the metal, step on the gas, right? But in a sideways market, you have to be a little more careful. In a downtrending market, I'm just probing to see what works for me. So when I'm screening, I have to have that market direction in mind. And
Yes.
so in an uptrending market, I'm just looking for momentum, relative strength lines. And this is Adobe here. I'm looking at it because it's after hours. It's up three.
Hmm.
They
Wow, it's
must
already
have
up that much? What I must
yeah, so they must have had a good earnings report. So,
yes.
I'm sure they mentioned AI a bunch of times in their conference
Yeah, that's
call.
it. That's the magic word.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
so Nvidia, what do you consider Adobe? It's kind of a software stock, right?
Well, I use it for you can use it for video editing, like for this YouTube video. If I do any add any beginning or end or anything, I can use
Yeah.
Adobe. Adobe's great.
So yeah, with Adobe being up 3%, I would bet the Nasdaq would, still rally tomorrow, but it's chop X. Anyway, I got off topic. Yeah, you have to learn. To me, I think you need to learn you have to recognize all three markets. You know,
Hmm.
you have to recognize the downtrending market and the sideways market and the uptrending market. Now, earlier I said we're in a sideways market because that's like a longer term. A
Yes.
shorter term, we're definitely in an uptrend. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
many would say until you break that old high, they
yeah,
wouldn't call it a real bull market.
right. Here's your your uptrend, and then obviously your downtrend, and then there's your sideways action here. So it
Hmm.
did break for me above that 12,269 for the Nasdaq. So to me, that's in an uptrend, and I'm looking for a different type of stock here now, a momentum stock. But here, I like earnings. I like sales. The IBD guys, Mike Webster and Scott St. Clair, they always say the stock's not going to go up because of the chart. It's got to have the sales and earnings, and that's what
Hmm.
told them. Yeah. I mean, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Presented, we want stocks with sales growth and earnings growth and future sales and earnings growth. Those that are going to be raising guidance that have growth prospects.
I love that. Fundamentals
Yeah,
matter. I always tweet that fundamentals matter.
they really
And
do.
they do. To me, they always do. I know we were in free money and negative rates for a long time. I think, in my opinion, the regime has changed a bit. I mean, I don't think we're going to go much higher or anything like that, but I don't think we're going to go to that same environment. So it's reality sits in. I think I personally want to be invested in a stock that is generating some free cash flow and
Yeah.
has money. I mean, I like that. That to me is what I like.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's what attracted me to SMCI, the growth. I love that
right.
growth.
Right. So the market's in this uptrend, and some of these software names that were
Hmm.
punished before, now they're without
Look at that. Wow.
yeah, well, this one doesn't have any sales or earnings growth. So some of these are high valuation software names that are really ramping. So maybe they're going to have future growth, right? But
Right. I know.
it's kind of a leap of faith. I like to look down and see sales and earnings growth. Obviously the sales here is strong and 40 percentile, but no earnings. That's a
Boy,
little bit
that look at that relative strength rating 99.
yeah. This is a little bit of a cautionary tale for me though,
Mhm.
because yeah, it broke out of a base, right, with real volume, and I definitely, that put it on the radar for me, but yeah, I don't know. Longer term, I don't know if you can sit in that one. because of, just got no earnings, Roseanne. We
I
talked
know.
about that. I want some earnings, please. That's
know.
why, I would go for something like a DigitalOcean, like I talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
because it has the growth profile that,
Yeah, you
I
want a
like.
little bit of everything. It's nice
Yeah.
to have some money there too.
IoT might outperform it. I don't know, but if I want to own a software name, I want something with some, sales and earnings growth, and
Absolutely.
I have no idea what this thing does. A
I know.
cloud,
I know.
cloud. I mean, it gets pretty intricate, and
That's why we follow price, the trend, and the charts. And Marty, this has been amazing. I want to know about your service because I love your style. That's me. And I'm sure a lot of people do. And I want to know how we could be, part of Marty's trading.
Well, my service have a free 14-day trial, so you can check us out for free at mcstockcharts.com.
mcstockcharts.com. I'm going to put that in the description for everyone.
Okay. And it's my daily process. I have a pre-market report where I go through stocks that I think are near buy points because we want to buy properly. I talked about that, no chasing, right? Want to buy a proper buy point. So I put usually 8 to 10 charts a day of stocks that I think are near buy points. I have stocks that are moving in pre-market that some people like to day trade, or like an earnings report, like a Lennar reported earnings today, and that could spark a rally in the home builders. Or when Nvidia reported May 24th or May 25th, that sparked a rally in semiconductors. So those stocks on the move, it might not be a one-day move, especially if it's an earnings report. So I definitely clue into the stocks on the move in the morning, and earnings reports are game changers, Rosanna, because say like the analysts have they have models, right? They'd spend millions of dollars on analysts researching and building models for stocks, right? Because they want to make money too. And so say they have a stock of XYZ, and the stock, their model has this stock earning $1, and they have an earnings report, and the stock is saying, well, we earned $2, and next quarter we're going to, next year we're going to earn $3. Well, now they have to go back and reconfigure their models because the stock is no longer going to earn $1, it's going to earn $3. So they go back, and that's why you see these upgrades after earnings reports, because they're reconfiguring their model, saying, well, no, Adobe's not worth 400, now it's worth 600, because they raise guidance. Just like Nvidia, they raised their guidance, $4 billion. So now they're saying, okay, maybe Nvidia is worth a little bit more. So that's why I look for those earnings reports, and the upgrades I think are pretty important, because they're, the analysts and these big institutions which move the market, they're reconfiguring and reanalyzing these stocks and what they're worth. And they're often wrong. They're often wrong. They're not right. No matter how much money they spend, they're wrong a lot. But when a company's doing that, an XYZ company is saying, well, we earned $1, last year, and we're going to earn $3 next year. Well, that's like, hey, hello. And that's when you get those,
momentum moves. Yeah,
that's when you get these big gaps, like this one here, this is a trial. And the one I mentioned earlier, TGTX, this is an earnings gap here on May 1.
Look at that.
23%. Because they reported 286% revenue increase. They're going to be profitable soon. So so they have to always, every day the market changes, right? And these stocks change, so you have to change with them.
Yeah, very smart. You look at the news, the analysts, anything around earnings, because it's that news and those analyst upgrades and all that that's going to move that stock. Doesn't mean it's going to go to that price, like you said. I mean, that's like an anchoring bias, and people get anchored to that price. But for us, for you, as you're trading it as a trend trader, momentum trader, it works. It works great.
I mean, it's a stock that's trading, at like I say, $100, and they're earning, $5, right? It has a multiple of 20, right? And now they're going to earn, $10 or $20. Well, it's not going to have the same multiple, right? And
Mhm.
it's going to have to, they're going to have to raise their price targets, and the stock price is
Yes.
going to go higher because they're earning more.
Mhm.
Peter Lynch had the math. I'm not a big math guy, but he was a math. He said if a stock is growing at 20%, it should have a multiple of 20. And if it's below that, that stock is cheap. And if it's above that, the stock is a little expensive. Now it's a real simple way of doing
I
it.
like that.
It's not that cut and dried, but yeah, multiple should match, over time, the multiples should match their growth rate,
That's a
and a lot
great
of these,
rule of thumb. I like that.
well, a lot of these growth stocks are, they're trading on future growth, and they
Exactly.
talked about Amazon for years, right? Was Amazon for 20 years was overvalued, right? But
Yeah.
the stock kept going up, right? I mean,
Yeah. Let's see
Amazon,
it.
yeah, the whole time it was it's
Look at that.
overvalued, but who cares, right?
I know.
I mean, that's quite a what did they split 20 for one, right? It was like,
Yes.
yeah, so you got it split adjusted. This is like a $2,500 stock or even more, something like that.
Look
3,000.
at that. Wow. Oh
Yeah, but it was
yeah.
overvalued the whole way, so a lot of these growth and momentum stocks are overvalued. I mean,
But you go by the growth rate.
right,
Absolutely.
right.
So
Now
tell us about your YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel, don't you? And you
You
post on
know,
there.
the guys at my IT guys said I'm using up too much space with these Zoom files. I don't know, but I was just making Zoom videos, daily review and weekly review, and putting them in my site. And I was making a lot of videos, on each stock, individual stocks, and I was putting them into my site. And they were going like, you're taking up way too much space here. And so they said you have to make it on YouTube and then transfer it to the site because it's got, I don't know, 1/10 less of the file space. I don't know why that is. I
Oh,
that's way above my pay grade.
well, I
But
gotta tell you, these files are a lot of gigabytes. They
the
take up a
Zoom
lot.
files, yeah.
Yes.
So I do what I'm asked usually. I'm in compliance.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started making these YouTube videos and then just transferring them to my site. It's just a daily review of what happened during the stock market. I usually don't put my stock setups or my watch list. I do put a lot of the stocks that I'm watching on there and just how they performed.
Great. Yeah, I
Because I
saw a
gauge,
recent test. You had Tesla
yeah,
up there recently.
well, because I gauge the stock market by how the leaders are performing.
Hmm.
That's like recently in the January for the early 2023 rally, there was just 8 stocks leading the market higher, which really wasn't true. And I always look at the leading stocks that I have, and I don't have, I have Nvidia and Tesla, but I don't have Apple and Meta and Google and those stocks, Microsoft. But I had a lot of other smaller cap stocks that were they're up 100%. To me, that's I'll take 100%.
Yeah.
I don't care about their, if they're small caps or mid caps, and they're not driving the market higher, but they're performing well. And to me, they're leading stocks in leading groups, leading industry groups. So to me, like a Duolingo and a
Hmm.
Spotify, yeah, they're smaller companies, and some of those biotech stocks that I mentioned that are smaller, but
Hmm.
if they're performing well, to me, I mean, they're leaders, leading stocks and leading groups.
Exactly. We go for
Yeah.
monster stocks. You want
Yeah.
grand slams, right?
Well, right now, I mean, SMCI, we're always going back to SMCI,
I
right?
know. We love that one. We go back to it.
It's the leading in the leading group.
Yeah. It's
So
a
that's why,
excellent.
I want to own that stock. Yeah. And
And that's why
Nvidia,
I always talk about SMCI because it's a great example and
and
of what we're talking about of
right.
growth and great numbers and nice trend lines.
Yeah, well, to me, okay, Nvidia is a leading stock in the semiconductor leading
Hmm.
group too, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but if you drill down to SMCI, everybody talks about how Nvidia is going to crash and we're going to short it because it's so overvalued. I mean, it's trading like, I don't know what, 20 times sales, whatever. I don't know. I don't really care. But SMCI, if you take a look at their cash flow, their balance sheet, it's trading, gosh, I wanted to say like, I don't know, 4 times sales,
Hmm.
maybe even less than that.
Hmm.
Yeah, the market cap is 12 billion. and they've
Wow.
got about 4 billion in sales, so 3 times sales, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't know what their future sales are, but they've been announcing these deals with the Nvidia and AMD. I'm sure
Mhm.
they're making a lot of deals, so I'm sure their revenue is going to be growing. But you can see their cash flow, the return on equity, very little debt. The up down volume, and this stock's in demand. Their accumulation distribution rating.
It's a beautiful balance
It's
sheet,
it's
income statement. I mean, everything
yeah,
you look at, the numbers, I mean, it's what you want, lower
yeah,
debt, higher cash, higher,
yeah.
return on equity and
Yeah,
forward
this is
P.
not what I'm saying is this is not one of those Amazons or Nvidias that are trading at
Yes.
crazy valuation. This is trading at a decent valuation. It's not a value stock, no,
It
but
used to be. Remember, we used to say it was a
yeah,
value stock acting like a growth stock?
no, yeah. I said it was masquerading. It was a
Yeah.
$100 stock masquerading at 50, right?
Yeah.
It's no longer masquerading. They take the mask off.
Yeah.
But you can see here, this is just digesting gains. It had this nice, people want to say a high tide flag pattern. You call it whatever you want, but this is just digesting gains. It's an inside week. It's doing nothing wrong. You got to expect profit taking, and it's 9.7% off of its high. Big deal. I mean, I'm okay with it being 15% off of its high.
Hmm.
And if it trades down to its 21, so be it. But like I say, no sell signs, and this is not an expensive stock. To me, I want to own the leading stocks and the leading groups and SMCI and Nvidia, and I would even go as far as to say Tesla, definitely the leading stock in the automotive group, which is another leader.
Hmm.
Spotify, Duolingo. The housing group is another one. I mentioned DR Horton, and you mentioned Taylor Morrison. Yeah, so those are some of the leading stocks, and it's not just Apple and Meta and Google leading the market higher anymore. This is a
It's
really
spreading out. Hmm.
broad-based rally. Yeah,
Very nice. Thank
I
you
can
so
dig it.
much.
I got
This
to show
is,
you one more.
please show us one more. Ooh, what's that?
Cocoa.
Oh, the drink. You and
Yeah.
these drinks. You like Celsius and you like the cocoa.
Oh, I drink Celsius, but I like this in my protein shakes.
I like it
It
too.
adds flavor because some of that protein powder is, pretty, yeah. So a little
Yeah, this is
and a little
tasty.
cocoa, yeah. So this stock and some
What a
guy on
beautiful
Twitter,
trend. That's nice.
yeah, some guy on Twitter, yeah, makes a new high every day. Who doesn't like that? Some guy on Twitter told me that they have a Captain Morgan rum, strawberry daiquiri.
Nice. I have to admit, yeah, this is really good with vodka. If you use that coconut vodka with
Here's
this.
Roscoe. He wants to say hi.
Oh, that Roscoe. Let's see Roscoe.
Come on up. Come on, boy.
The baby.
Come here.
He's the baby in the
Come
family.
on, Roscoe, come up. Hey, come here. Come on up. Come here. He's out of here. He just wants a treat.
He just wanted a treat.
He wants a treat.
How
But
cute.
yeah,
That's your little pup.
but this is what I'm talking about. I mean, Celsius gets a lot of the run, but this thing's outperforms Celsius.
Wow.
And just a lot of stocks like this that are, a small market cap. This is less than 2 billion, and they're just making new highs. It's not all about the mega cap technology. There's a lot of underlying strength. This is my wife Anna.
Hello.
She worked at Fortinet.
Hi,
Wow.
Anna.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
You're having fun in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love talking stocks and charts.
Yeah.
I love that we got to meet Marty's family, Roscoe and Anna. This
Yeah.
is awesome. We're very fortunate. We're very blessed today.
Roscoe's camera shy.
I know,
He just
right?
he wants a treat.
That's a treat.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful one, this Vita Coco. Are you
Yeah.
watching this one? Or are you in?
Yeah, I bought it just because
Nice.
this is an earnings. I talk about the those shakeouts, right?
Yeah, look at
Go
that.
back to its 50 on earnings, and I had already been discussing it with a friend back here at 22, and he had bought it, and I didn't own it. I said, I'm not gonna chase it. And it came back on this earnings report. A lot of times you'll see like a sell the news event, like we saw sell the news with AMD this week in their presentation, and
Yeah.
sell the news with Apple at their developers conference.
Mhm.
So this is a sell the news event. So I said, I'll pull back to its 50. I'm going to buy it here. It wasn't in a base. It was just a pullback to a moving
So
average.
what was the pullback on? Do you know?
This is earnings right
Oh,
here.
that was the
Yeah,
earnings
the earnings, it
pullback.
sold off on really good earnings. People are just taking profits. It's had a nice run.
Yeah,
But
sell off on good earnings are always a very interesting for me and present good opportunities.
yeah, they're just profit takers, right? Sometimes because I was on a pension fund and so this pension had very strict, they had to be in compliance and they had 20 groups that they had to have 5% or less in their portfolio. So say if you bought like an Apple and it went up 200%, well, they have to sell it because it becomes more than 5% of the portfolio.
Yes, they
They're
have to
forced to
rebalance
sell.
it.
Yeah, so they don't want to sell it, but to be in compliance, we could have kicked them out of we could have got them out of the contract because they're not in compliance because they're too heavy in the telecommunications stocks, and it was pretty interesting to learn. And then, they go through each group, we're 3% in defense and we're, 2% in telecommunications and, pretty interesting. But and consumer we're down, but yeah, they're always very strict in compliance. They wanted, they wanted to be in compliance so they can keep their clients, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this one, this Vita Coco. Now you're making me thirsty. I'm gonna want some cocoa.
Yeah,
The coconut water is so good. I love it.
Yeah, my wife first started buying them for hydration, and then I started putting in my protein shakes. This stuff's pretty good. Yeah,
and the protein shakes for sure. It helps mask that flavor in there. But okay, so we got your website, and then we have your YouTube channel, and now Twitter. That's where you're very active on, right?
I joined Twitter for my own amusement.
You're so much fun on there.
I just like to have fun. I'm gonna hope people don't get offended. Some of the stuff
we love it. We love you, Marty. You're awesome. You're so much fun. You're really smart, and you're so good at what you do. But most of all, you have a great mindset. You never give up.
Never give up.
You really care to help people, and that's genuine, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I was a teacher for a long time. I was a teacher. I really enjoyed teaching, and then I got demoted to principal. And the demotion was hard on me for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've been pushing paper around and fundraising kind of sucked. But yeah, thank you for the kind words. I just like having fun on Twitter.
You do.
You mentioned Christian earlier. He laughs at my jokes. So anybody laughs at my jokes, that's cool. Because I believe you have to laugh, Roseanne. I know you're the same way. Yeah, have a lot of gratitude about everything you've been blessed with in your life. And
agree.
Be grateful. You can't be mad. I had my positive vibe shirt on earlier. So yeah, think positive, be positive was one of our school mottos, and
love that.
Positive things happen to positive people, and
a positive mind creates a positive life.
And outcomes too, right? Yeah.
It's all in your perception. It's how you view things. And that's very important. It's about your reaction, and it's your perception. So stay positive and follow Marty, because Marty's awesome. And
you sparked something in my head, because I used to have a teacher, and she was a really nice lady and a good teacher, but she was kind of she had a scowl like all the time, right? And the kids were a little bit afraid of her, and the parents were a little bit afraid of her. And I said, it takes just as much energy to smile as it does to scowl at kids, right? So I tried to teach her to smile and try to get her to be happy and encourage the kids instead of like scold them, so
exactly. It's important to give positive reinforcement. They say you're supposed to clap and give positive reinforcement instead of getting angry or mad and negative reinforcement. So you can encourage the positive behavior, and it's just being positive overall is key, and it makes you happier and healthier, right?
Always positive. If you can laugh, I think you got the day one. If you can laugh throughout the day 10 times, you won the day. Because laughter is good for the soul.
Agree.
So I pull a lot of jokes. Sometimes people get offended, but I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it came probably from playing baseball. People play tricks on you and stuff, and you just joke around a lot. So I don't know. Maybe it's just my nature, but
you're very genuine, and you're a real treat. This was a treat. Going through Marty's mind and going through these charts was a real treat. Thank you so much.
Rosanna, it was really nice chatting with you. Thank you. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to have you.
Yeah.
This is long overdue. We've done a lot of spaces together, and you're actually on the podcast, not your video, but your voice, your audio. So this is a real treat.
I haven't done a spaces in moons, and people make
Me
fun
either.
I said I wanted a spaces, then I lost 10 points off my IQ. It's like people drone on, I guess, in spaces. But,
yeah, I haven't been going on at all. I just been doing this, and I like the video. I think the video is
great.
They can
be very helpful. I know Joe Fahmy, when he's on there, I like to listen to him. He has good
Great.
Yeah, and there's some good spaces, and I like being on Twitter. And you mentioned Christian. There's just a lot of people on Twitter. I got to shout out Mike Webster. He's a good.
He's awesome.
He's funny and very not given the credit that he.
Love him.
All the work that he did at Investors Business Daily, but sure is a good guy. A lot of genuine people on Twitter. A lot of nice people.
Definitely a lot of great people I've met on there. I'm so grateful,
yeah.
and you're one of them.
Yeah, I met people that I met on Twitter. I met in real life. Had lunch with them and stuff. And
oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah.
Nice. Well, one day we're gonna meet up.
We will. I should go to
meet up in Arizona. I'd rather be in come to New
Arizona.
York.
Bring your golf clubs.
We will. I love Arizona. Don't come to New York. You don't want to come.
Yeah, your bike or whatever you want to do. Fly a kite. You can do anything here.
We'll go hiking.
Yeah, there's always what is it, 360 days a year? I think that's their motto, right? You can go out and run, hike in the hills, a lot of good hiking, bike, play golf. Yeah, a lot of activities. Pickleball is huge.
Oh yeah, pickleball, fun.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Marty. We'll talk soon. We'll see you on Twitter.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Rose Show podcast. Please visit rosannaprestia.com for more episodes. See you soon. All investment, real estate, financial, legal, and tax opinions expressed by Rosanna Prestia or on The Rose Show should not be relied upon as professional advice and are intended to be used for informational purposes only.